Hello class, today we are finally getting to work with our air dry clay. We're going to be making Christmas ornaments and I'm going to show you a couple of different kinds that you can work on. Once they have been made and they have been dry and they're dry, we'll go ahead and paint them and then send them off to wherever they are going. So today's supplies are going to be, you're only going to need one. It's going to be a small, maybe even smaller than this, little ball of clay. And the reason for that is we have several students, and so the clay kind of has to stretch out, but it'll just be a small ball, probably about 1.5 inches in diameter that you're going to need. And if you don't use all of this, we're going to go ahead and save the excess so that we don't waste any materials because clay is pretty expensive. You're going to want a little round bowl. I'm going to be getting some cookie cutters that we might be able to use in order to make these. And then you're going to need a rolling pin of some kind. We have some very little ones. We have some bigger ones. And then a multitude of these sculpting tools will come in handy depending upon what you're wanting to make. So the first one I'm going to show you is going to be a flat round ornament that is kind of nature inspired. We're going to take and flatten our clay out. Notice also I'm using this plastic background. We have several different kinds of backgrounds that we can use in order to keep stuff from sticking to the table, because this clay coming off the table is going to be kind of tough. So I have this round kind of shape and I'm going to cut it with this sculpting tool in order to round it out a bit more. And make it a little bit more round. You also, it wouldn't be bad to have like just a little bit of a very tiny container of water that you can use. Now the first thing I want you to do is go ahead and put your initials into the back. So in my case it would be, I'm gonna carve a K and then a G that we're just kind of crudely carving in here. And then whatever hour you have, say, I'm gonna put my plan period. This year's plan period is number 3. Next, you're going to take and gently kind of get that up so that you can flip it over. You're gonna wanna smooth that out a little bit. Try to make the edges nice. And then I'm gonna smooth it over a little bit more with my little mini one. You don't put a lot of pressure on this when you're trying to smooth it out. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is carve a little bit of a tree branch in here. I'm gonna take this tool and kind of create my little branches kind of coming out all over. With our tools, this is kind of the fun part. We're creating kind of organic. This is a very flowing pattern. Can come out a little bit more. We want to fill it up a little bit. But you guys can come down here, you can create little pine trees and mountains. I really liked the idea of this simple little pine cone. And I'm just making this little shape and then coming back in and making the pattern for a pine cone. Kind of shoving this excess out of the way. And what's neat is when this dries and you actually paint it, the paint will actually fall into the texture that you created. This is definitely one way that you can use this air clay in order to make ornaments. Just make sure that you're carefully kind of tucking this excess down. And you see it looks like a little pine cone. And I'm gonna go ahead and create some more texture here with my pine needles. Now, whenever you get to a good point, you wanna stop and kind of in the center, create a hole that goes all the way through so that you can put a ribbon through. You want to make sure you're looking carefully to make sure that you've got it, or it's definitely all the way through. Then kind of smooth this out. You can take some of this and carefully smooth it down. This is a nice tool for smoothing. Of course, as always, get in there with your fingers. That's the fun part about clay. You're making stuff with your hands. And I'm kind of looking here. I want a little bit more texture on my branches. Coming down where it looks like it's holding our little pine cone. So that is one idea. And like I said, you can also do, if you don't want to do the pine cone, come down here, and I'm just going to show you because this isn't going to be, you can actually make little trees by coming out. With your tools. And you can line these up. You can make some mountains. It's a lot like drawing. You just want to come back and very carefully take some of these tools that are great for smoothing and smooth down what's kind of sticking up. I mean, even if you do have a little bit sticking up, creating a texture with your clay, there is nothing wrong with that. If you want to put a little, take maybe some excess, maybe you have a little excess clay, you know, get creative with it. Make yourself a tiny snowman that sticks out maybe. You can do that too. Maybe you're making the forest scene. I mean, you guys get creative with it. I can't wait to see what you come up with. But I can make a, just kind of doing everything on this one. Like I said, I don't want to waste any clay. And actually what I'm going to do when I'm done with this is ball it back up and put it back in there. But you guys can actually make, ooh, kind of form it. You have a tiny snowman, and then you can come in and carve in little arms. You know, it's kind of hard to see because I'm overlapping, but carve in little arms next to him. And give him a little face, like take just a tiny bit and give him a nose. But that's just another idea, you know, have fun with that. All right, the second kind is going to be braided. And there's a couple different ones we can do with this too. What I like to do in this case is go ahead and kind of roll it out in like a log shape. And I'm gonna take this and cut it in half. And then we're basically gonna do just like we used to when we had Play-Doh when we were younger. We're gonna make a nice long snake shape with our clay. This is the kind of clay you don't want to get super wet because it's air dry clay. It's already pretty moist. It has lots of moisture in it. You got to take it down and kind of try to even it out as best you can. All right, now here is one the braided ideas. We're gonna take, my sucker's wanting to move around on me. Always had fun doing this as a kid. Really loved Play-Doh. I don't know if you guys did. I definitely did. Hopefully maybe at the end of the hour we can talk about like what your favorite things to make with Play-Doh were. I always had some kind of a pretend restaurant. I always thought that was fun. So we're evening this out. We're gonna make them the same length. This is a little thicker than the other. So we're just trying to kind of even it out, gently work it with our fingers as we go. Make it straight. Okay, and we're gonna line them up together, and you're gonna take your tool. Now this is not sharp, but it could still hurt someone because it's shaped where it can go into something. So we're not gonna horse around, right? We're gonna remember our safety. All right, now what we're doing is we're gonna take and we're gonna braid this by overlapping. Overlapping and causing this kind of swirl, just like so. And as you go, make sure that it's staying together. Now this one will probably label a different way. I might get some little round stickers like you use at the garage sales to try to. You have to be careful as you go because air dry clay can dry somewhat fast. So now you have this braid, which there's a couple things I'm going to try to do with it. One is going to be your classic candy cane, which you make into a candy cane shape, and then we can cut the end off in order to create that. Or we can do a lollipop, which I really like the lollipops. And you're just gonna gently, you could also turn it into a cinnamon roll, I guess. We could do that too. But you're gonna gently roll that around in order to create your lollipop shape. And then what I do is just come in and just flatten it a little bit. Just a little. You don't want to flatten it all the way, but you've got that swirl. And when you come back in here to paint it, you're gonna paint the different sections, different colors. Then what we would do in this case is we have that little bit of leftover. We can gently pick it up and create our lollipop stem. And what we could do here too is go ahead and put your initials down in here, just like so, so we know, you know it's yours. And then we would let that dry. You want to make sure that stem is definitely on. Let that dry on. We're going to stick it on our parchment paper. And then we'll paint it. You want to make sure that you have a little spot to hang by. So once again, we come up here and we're going to create a hole that goes all the way through. All the way through. Make sure it's in there. Don't create it too far to the top or it'll break off, but all the way through. I cannot wait to see what ideas you guys come up with. I'm really excited about this because I know you've been waiting a long time, and we'll get started here shortly.